Now, let's proceed to a local ethical case involving a massive scale of deforestation in the year 2000, which signed a bad start in the beginning of the 21st century. In the year 2000, 100,000 hectares of forest was wiped out. Can you imagine how big the scale of that deforestation is? It's around the size of the Penang state. Of course, this large-scale tear-down was not happening in Penang. But it happened in the heart of Borneo, which is at the Bornean forest in Sarawak. That is the home to 10 species of primate, hundreds of birds, reptiles, amphibians and also thousands of plants. The mastermind behind this large-scale tear-down was An Holdings. And guess what? It's ironic that An Holdings joined the World Wildlife Fund's Global Forest and Trade Network, which is a program that aims to end unsustainable practices. Through its special connection in business and political fields, An Holdings held about 360,000 hectares of forest in total. The forest was pending to be turned into money for itself through logging and palm oil production. While money was rolling into the pocket of An Holdings, the adverse impact created from deforestation has taken a toll on the others. There were indigenous people where their ancestral land was violated. There were endangered animals where their habitat was destroyed. There was air pollution in Sarawak because the forest was burned down. There was also water pollution due to the production of hazardous waste by the palm oil plantations. All these damages ranging from human right destruction to different kinds of environmental pollution jointly contributed to the forest destruction in Sarawak, further exacerbating the loss and extinction of endangered species and unique vegetation. The Council on Ethics of the Norwegian Government Pension Fund Globe has called out that the damage caused by An Holdings is significant, irreversible and has long-term effects on the environment.
There are three ethical theories pertaining to the An. The first, categorical imperative of Kant's ethics of duty theory. While World Wildlife Fund's WWF is a trust organization with clear objectives to eliminate illegal and unethical practices associated with the environment, they failed to deny the membership of An Holdings as in the Global Forest and Trade Network (GFTN) program. It was questionable if An Holdings is eligible since the company held suspicious logging concession licenses. Also, An Holdings' logging concession areas covers the orangutan's habitat, which are listed as protected species in Sarawak. There is a big contradiction with Kant's first categorical imperative theory. WWF should allow the actions to be a universal law before putting themselves in the acts. However, they had failed evidently due to their misalignment of objectives and actions. WWF, in order to be a morally right organization, should walk their talk as explained by Kant in his hypothetical imperative. Secondly, the case study failed to apply stakeholder. One company should have multiple obligations by extending their consideration to the stakeholder group. Malaysia government and An did not commit to their corporate social responsibilities. Indigenous people of Sarawak, they are the stakeholders of the government, depending on the forest as to support their livelihoods. However, the local government has effectively created a culture which endorses irresponsible logging. Indigenous people suffered violence and hostility from the government and An Holdings while they were trying to protect their home. All these pain could have been avoided if the local government enforces restrictions and conditions on logging licenses. The government has also violated the theory of natural or human rights. Under the native customary law, the government refused indigenous people stewardship. Government unethical and illegal practices, lack of transparency in decision-making and lenient legal order has led to land deprivation. The indigenous people built barricades hoping that it would stop the companies to invade their land. Amendment on the Sarawak Forest Ordinance was made to criminalize the natives' actions. In fact, the local government should set their values and operate fairly to create and inculcate good culture among its stakeholders.
Tim determined to build his body using the dumbbell without his coach's supervision.
I can do it.
I will never eat KFC again.
Unfortunately, Tim's X-ray imaging showed a fractured arm. Now, did you know X-ray uses gamma radiation to scan your bone? Ever wonder how much radiation do you receive from an X-ray? Generally, humans are exposed to 0.0035 millisievert of natural radiation. It can be from the rocks, the sun, and also your gadgets. Hence, a simple chest X-ray amounts to 0.1 millisievert, which is equivalent to about 10 days' dosage of natural radiation. What if one day you unknowingly receive 300,000 millisievert per hour?
We're gonna have a baby.
You melt. That is exactly what happened to Chernobyl nuclear power plant in 1986. The disaster has indirectly led to the dissolution of the Soviet Union and formed Ukraine. It was the worst nuclear disaster as to date. Cities within 30 kilometers radius from Chernobyl is unsafe for human settlement for at least 20,000 years. Radioactive particles carried by the wind traveled and contaminated an area of 20,000 square kilometers across Europe. The accident has affected more than 4,000 lives. About 350,000 people were evacuated within 36 hours from the accident.
Inside the core can no longer be held back. At long last we have arrived. 1:23:45, explosion. In the instant the lid is thrown off the reactor, oxygen rushes in. It combines with hydrogen and superheated graphite. The chain of disaster is now complete.
The Chernobyl nuclear reactor 4 exploded on 26 April 1986 at 1:23 am. On the next day at 2 p.m., the city next to Chernobyl is evacuated. It took 1,200 buses to empty the city. There were no announcement made with regards to the accident. On 28 April, Sweden's largest nuclear reactor detected radionuclides in the air. The country is 1,100 kilometers away from Chernobyl. 20 days after the accident, an exclusion zone of 30 kilometers radius from Chernobyl was affected. On May 15, 1986, Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev finally made a public announcement regarding Chernobyl. His speech was aired on the national television. In his statement he mentioned everything was within their control. Chernobyl is a product of safety culture deficiency and superficial glasnost. There is no justice in Chernobyl.
There are two ethical theories related to the incident above. Second categorical imperative of Kant's ethics of duty theory requires us to treat humans as an end in themselves. There were children born with permanent deformities including frog legs and twisted hips, victims who suffered from thyroid cancers and heart defects, there were thousands dead from cancer and leukemia. But the truth was intentionally buried by government. When the lies no longer hold the truth, they denied all the death, destruction and pollution that arose from Chernobyl. Those in power didn't treat the innocent people as the end, but the means to secure their power. There will be less suffering if the USSR acts on transparency. Lack of commitment to CSR violated stakeholder theory. Instead of Chernobyl, the Forsmark nuclear reactor from Sweden alerted the world about Chernobyl's explosion. They did it because they feel responsible to communicate the truth as human lives were involved. Mutated plants glow as a result of radiation. Also, the USSR government fed people with lies to maintain their reputation. Indeed, government should place lives above lies. The importance of such actions is to establish trust from other governments and the society.